What's going on, everybody? It is the Rum Champion, and we are finally back for another segment of the Recommended Rum Journey. In case this is your first video in this mini-series, just a quick rundown. The Recommended Rum Journey is helping to guide you on where to start and where to progress in your rum journey. So I'm Brian, the Rum Champion. I spent 10 years in tech, got a master's degree, and ditched all of that to drink rum and hang out for a living. I'm the brand ambassador for several rum brands. I bartend 4 nights a week at the Lucky Tiki, and I travel the country hosting rum education events. So in short, I'm a rum-obsessed lunatic who has turned this insane obsession into a career. We are covering the lovely island of Jamaica. And yes, Jamaica does get its own particular episode. And the reason for it is because in the last episode, we talked about column and pot stilled rums from St. Lucia and Barbados and elsewhere. And Jamaica is an easy transition because some of these are column and pot stilled rums as well. And then as we get further in, we'll get into pot stilled rums. Okay, so this is going to be a very, very brief history of Jamaica and rum in Jamaica. There are so many other great resources out there. If you want me to dive deeper into this, we can do that. But today is not that day. So in essence, Jamaica was taken over by the British from the Spanish in the 1650s. It was a consolation prize, oddly enough, and then it would later become one of the jewels of the British Empire because colonization. Any hoodles. So the British take over the island of Jamaica in the 1650s, and sure and behold, it's not too long after that that rum production kicks off. There are a couple hundred rum distilleries all over the island. I'm sure I've talked about this before, but back in the day, rum was not this globalized economy of just sending things around. It was part of the global economy, but a lot of times rum was just that, a commodity. It sat in barrels and was exchanged and traded, and when it was consumed, it was typically straight out of the barrel, or as history would go on or as time would go on, it would then become part of the Navy rum blends. And there's an episode that I have on the history of Navy rum, which you should absolutely check out. Anyways, so rum production starts happening, and a lot of these brands, well, some of them have been around since almost the very beginning. Things like Worthy Park or Appleton and Ray and Nephew, for example, or Hampden. Some of these have endured for quite a long time. Now, as sugar production reached its heyday, as mentioned, a couple hundred distilleries in Jamaica, and all of these were servicing local markets. So your village or the local sugar plantation, where the slaves were forced to make sugar, you would have rum servicing that local village or area. And as such, when sugar production started to decline, a lot of distilleries started to shutter their doors. And so as of today in Jamaica, there are only 6 distilleries on the island, and only 2 of them are 100% Jamaican-owned. First and foremost on the stop, it's where I started on my Jamaican journey, and that's with Appleton Estate. Appleton Estate, guaranteed, even if you are just slightly into rum or into tiki, you've heard about this because, the Appleton 12 and the Mai Tai. Appleton is the most widely known and well-recognized Jamaican rum brand. Now, what I will say is just because it's the most recognized or the most popular doesn't necessarily make it the best. I would say if you are just going to start getting into Jamaican rum, Appleton is a fantastic place to start. Column and pot stilled, molasses based. The distillery's been around since 1749. And honestly, they do make really, really, really good rums. Next up, we have the distillery called Clarendon. Now, nothing comes out under the Clarendon name, but it's the brand Money Musk. So the Money Musk estate has been around in Jamaica since the 1700s. And the Clarendon distillery opened in, I believe, 1949, something like that. But the Money Musk brand here launched in 2006. This Special Reserve, I think, absolutely stands toe-to-toe with Appleton. Special Reserve, aged minimum 10 years, column pot still like the Appleton 12. And the first time I had this, my mind was absolutely blown. For me, there's a really good recipe of a Planter's Punch cocktail using black tea. And if you take that recipe from 1957 and use 2 ounces of this guy right here, you're rocking and rolling and off to the races because it's oh so good. The other brand that you may be aware of that comes from the Clarendon distillery are actually 2. One is Myers Rum, and Myers Rum has been around since 1878. The other one that is very notorious would be Captain Morgan. So without going too much into detail, there's actually 2 Captain Morgan brands that are distilled at 2 separate distilleries. Unfortunately, we here in the US get Captain Morgan that's distilled in the US Virgin Islands, and we'll leave that there. The other one, though, there has been a Captain Morgan brand distilled at the Clarendon Distillery in Jamaica. And none of that comes to the US. That all goes everywhere else. We're finally going to take a look at one of two Jamaican-owned distilleries. We're going to talk about, for a little bit, Hampden Estate. Hampden Estate has been distilling rum since 1753 and has been continuously doing it. So, to quote my good friend Kate Perry, to engage with Hampden is to engage with 18th century liquid. The processes, the production methods have remained relatively unchanged since that time. It's still family owned. And without Hampden and their production methods, we would never be using the terms like, oh, that's a funky Jamaican rum. Hampden invented it. So they have been doing it for a very, very, very long time. This here is their OWH 8-year with their OWH mark, which again, without going too much into detail, a mark, think about it kind of like a recipe. Hampden produces 8 different marks or recipes for their rum. This here is 8 years, 100% pot stilled. What's cool about Hampden as well is that this is long fermentation wild yeast, which means much more flavor. Next up on the train, we have the Long Pond Distillery. Now, if you don't know Long Pond, it's a fantastic place. It's been around as long as Hampden, 1753. Currently, it's owned partially by National Rums of Jamaica, Maison Ferrand, or Plantaret, as you might know, as well as DDL. This 15-year here, pretty hard to find 100% pot stilled. Long Pond, like Hampden, is also renowned for making some very, very funky rum. This right here, this 15-year, is the only thing that's been released commercially in the United States under the Long Pond name. You might see some single barrel expressions from Plantaret. There's a couple European expressions that have gone out. And National Rums of Jamaica has also released some things. None of it's come to the US, and it's all a little bit pricier. This Long Pond here, though, is just fantastic. The history of the distillery been around since 1753, as I've mentioned. And then it was sold a couple times. Then it had to shut down in 2017. There was a fire in 2018. But the distillery has been back in operation since 2022, and we are all the better for it. My iPhone ran out of storage. I should have checked before. Total new move. So if the aspect is a little off, you know why. We're going to now my favorite, absolute favorite distillery in Jamaica. This is Worthy Park. So the Worthy Park Estate has actually been there since 1670. They started rum production in 1741-ish, give or take. And they actually were producing rum for a very, very long time until the 1960s when they opted to shut down rum production because of a surplus. It's also, unfortunately, one of the reasons that the only well-known Jamaican rum brand is Appleton. Anyways, Worthy Park is my favorite for several reasons. The liquid is insane. This is their single estate reserve, 100% pot stilled, ex-bourbon barrel, all molasses, although they're starting to release some cane juice expressions that are just mwah. But I love them, not only for the quality of the liquid, they're the only 100% Jamaican rum. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, of the 6 distilleries, not 5, of the 6 distilleries, Worthy Park is the only one that is Jamaican-owned, and every last ingredient inside this bottle was grown and is from Jamaica. The other 5 distilleries have to import their molasses. Worthy Park is a single estate distiller, so they are growing their own sugarcane and they're producing their own rum, which makes them the only 100% Jamaican rum. This single estate reserve here, I'll see if I can find my the first time I ever tasted it. I recorded my reaction, and what I would say is that out of the near 1,800 rums that I have tried, from 80 countries, by the way, this right here would be the one rum. If I had to pick one, the single estate reserve. I love me some Worthy Park, and I'm going to teach you a jingle. It's inspired by a commercial of yesteryear, but I saw the entire Worthy Park team in New Orleans for Tales of the Cocktail, and I have it already stuck in their head, and I'm going to get it stuck in yours. You ready? Worthy Park's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not bad. No, no, no. I love me some Worthy Park, and the more you try this stuff, the more you will too. Well, guys, I had to do it one more time, so here we go. The other distillery, and I'm changing the bottle, by the way. So the other distillery that we have not talked about that is really Area 51. No one really knows what goes on in there. I don't even think that the people that work there know what's going on. That would be the New Yarmouth Distillery. Now, New Yarmouth, I believe, is what produces Wray and Nephew Overproof. So New Yarmouth and Appleton are both owned by the Campari Group, but we don't need to talk about any of that. So what I have here, though, for you is this is a split barrel pick between Florida Rum Society and the Rum Curious Club, my rum club out here on the West Coast. This is the first joint barrel between our two rum clubs. We're also the two largest rum clubs in the United States. These bottles are hitting shelves now. They're a bit pricey at $175 a bottle, but this is a unicorn bottling because, well, this is the first New Yarmouth single barrel that I've tried that's 100% pot stilled rum. This is a 17-year-old single barrel that spent 9 years at the New Yarmouth Distillery and Ex-Bourbon and 8 years at Maine Rum Company in Liverpool and ex-Sauterne casks. This is lovely stuff. It carries a hefty price tag. I wish I had more information on New Yarmouth, but there really isn't. So to recap, we have 6 distilleries, and then this one is out of order, so let's just do it like that. Boom, bam, thank you, ma'am. So we have Appleton, Clarendon, Hampton, Long Pond, New Yarmouth, and Worthy Park. New Yarmouth is also a spot that is capable of creating some very funky, intense rums. They, like Hampton and Long Pond, can produce the highest ester content, highest ester funky rums with a WK mark, which is, I think, Winston Kennedy. Anyways, it's a recipe that just means, oh, wow, that's funky. So that's the highest level of Jamaican rum that I can possibly do for you all. We can go and dive into each of these distilleries further. I'd imagine that we're going to do a deeper dive into Worthy Park as well as Hampton. And in the meantime, as I like to end these recommended rum journey videos, what we're going to focus on now is the 3 recommended bottlings. So Hampton just released a new expression 1753 to commemorate when the distillery was open. 3-year-old, it's fantastic. This is my 2nd bottle already. I make a really good cocktail called Emerald Veiled with this, green chartreuse, and sweet red vermouth, which is so good. It's a twist on the bijou. Worthy Park, Single Estate Reserve. I know I have been on my soapbox about this bottle for a very long time. It's 90 proof. It's absolutely delicious. No matter your mood, this is one of those rums to where maybe you don't need the funkiest, punchiest, boldest, whatever expression from Trinidad or Jamaica or Guyana or St. Lucia. This is something you can have no matter your mood and enjoy it thoroughly. And last but certainly not least, this is a shameless plug, so sorry, but this right here is truly a unicorn bottling from the New Yarmouth Distillery. 17 years old, it's fan-freaking-tastic, and guess what? In California, there are now less than 50 bottles available, and the bottles haven't even dropped yet. So you can get one of these if you DM me through Instagram, or if you message me at team@therumchampion.com. I'll tell you how to get one. We have annual memberships for the Rum Curious Club available. And a couple of the tiers, you actually get bottles as well. Those are the 2 main options. If you live in California, bottles are also coming to K&L wine merchants. They ship throughout California. Well, that just about wraps this one up, party people. So the next chapter of the recommended rum journey, we are going to be looking at cane juice rums and cane juice syrup, or cane syrup and cane juice rums. They're going to be a lot of different names depending on where they're distilled. They're going to be pot still, column still, kind of everything else in between. And then after we go through that one, then we're going to look at higher proof expressions. So I'm super excited. Let's rock and roll all day long, sweet Susie. Thank you all so much. We'll see you next time.